Welcome to the collection of the wildest and craziest AITA Reddit stories of all time. From wild betrayals to shocking twists, these tales will leave you questioning who is really in the wrong. Let's dive in together. The first story for this collection is from Worried Auntie. AITA for calling out my sister as a mother in the family group chat. TL. DR. My sister neglects one of her sons, and I called her out for the family to see after she failed to take my nephew to a concert. She promised she'd take him to. My sister, Sarah, 35, and I, 30F, have never had a close relationship. Growing up, my father favored me, and our mom favored her. It was wrong, Sarah and I knew it, but we didn't know what to do about it, and it caused us to constantly be at odds with each other. Our parents divorced, so our time with our dad was great for me. Less great for Sarah, and our time with our mom was great for Sarah, less great for me. As adults, we see each other around Christmas every year. Other than that, we don't really communicate except for the occasional family group chat exchange. My sister has two sons, Jackson, 15, and Ethan, 13. I've always known that Jackson is outgoing, bold, opinionated, and likes to be the center of attention. I've always known that Ethan is quiet and reserved, and until recently I thought he preferred to not have a lot of attention. But within the last year, I learned, realized, and experienced things that have completely changed my perspective, and I feel like a ant for it. First, until last Christmas, I thought Jackson and Ethan had the same father. I learned Jackson's father, who I haven't spoken to in over a decade, left Sarah after she cheated on him, hence Ethan. I suspect this is one of the reasons why Jackson and Ethan are treated differently and are just very different boys. Secondly, I realized that Sarah would always reach out to me and other family members on behalf of Jackson. If he had a sports game, if he was doing a fundraiser, or if he had a friend's birthday party or other social event to attend, she would ask us to attend, donate, or help him get to dash from his social event if she couldn't take him. Likewise, if he was suspended from school, having behavioral issues, or was just sick with like the flu or something, she would reach out to us for help, advice, etc. But rarely would we hear anything about Ethan. And regarding the school suspensions, she never told us that Jackson was suspended 99% of the time for bullying Ethan and Ethan's friends. They now go to separate schools because of this. 2 months ago, Sarah asked if someone could take Ethan to his school choir concert, so she could attend parent conferences at Jackson's school. I was surprised to hear E was even in a school concert, because my understanding was that he didn't like performing or drawing attention. She said she could pick Ethan up after, and she just needed someone to take him, which I felt was odd, because she didn't ask anyone to go watch him perform. But I gave her the benefit of the doubt and thought maybe Ethan didn't want anyone to watch. I offered to take him, watch the concert if he wanted me to, and take him home. Oh, my heavens. This kid had a singing solo in one song, played an instrument in another song, and had the best stage presence I've ever seen from a teenager. He was smiling and clearly loved what he was doing. Afterwards, I talked to his choir director, who heaped so much praise on him. He talked about how he helps other students with reading music, helps with the younger choir, and is a model student. He sent E away for a moment, and then quietly asked if he gave me the performance schedule, if I could come to future concerts because no one else does. This shattered me. I took E home, and on the way there, I started asking questions. This is when I learned that Jackson bullied Ethan, and he opened up about how differently he's treated. I promised to be more present for him. Sometime after, Sarah was once again busy somewhere with Jackson, and Ethan was home. He started throwing up and called his mom. She reached out and asked if anyone else could go take care of him until she got home, so I did. He was so painfully sick. I told her she needed to come home, but it still took her 2 hours to do so. What were her and Jackson doing? Driver's ed. In what world is that more important than your sick child? 2 weeks later, 2 weeks ago from now, he broke his hand. This prompted me to try to do something special for E. I bought 2 tickets to the symphony and planned to take him, but wound up not being able to because I came down with pneumonia. I transferred the tickets to his mom and begged her to take him, and she said she would. I texted Ethan yesterday and asked how he liked it, but he didn't respond. So I called his mom. She didn't take him and didn't find anyone else to. Her reason? She was busy and forgot. But it's okay. Sarcasm, because she offered to refund the ticket price back to me. I went off on her in the family group chat and said she is being a mother. I told her I don't know if it's because she inherited the favoritism gene from our parents, knowing they would see it in the chat along with one of our aunts and one of our uncles, or if she is subconsciously punishing him because she cheated and got rightfully dumped, or if she's just negligent. But I told her that she needs to step up for her son. Of course, this has caused a group chat storm, and everyone is divided. At first, I felt justified, but some of the responses make me wonder if I went overboard. Should I have addressed this individually with Sarah? Am I an AH for calling her out in front of the rest of the family? Ethan texted me today and said, "I'm sorry. I didn't want to tell you I didn't go because I didn't want to hurt your feelings. Please don't hurt anyone's feelings. It's really okay." OP is not the AH. She was frustrated with Sarah's neglectful behavior towards Ethan, which needed to be addressed. Calling her out in the family group chat was harsh, but ultimately justified given the context of her repeated negligence. So, I would rate OP 0 out of 5 on the AH scale. As for OP's sister, I would rate her 3 out of 5 on the AH scale. Let's now jump on to the next story from Sleepy_treehugger. AITA for holding a grudge and enforcing a ban from our house on Christmas. My 34F stepfather-in-law, 44M, is pretty two-faced. When he and my mother-in-law, 63F, were separated, he lived with us. We were all living in brother-in-law's house while we found a house for ourselves for almost a year and was friendly and happy towards us, etc. While speaking about her and saying all sort of stuff and saying he was never going back. But when they got back together, he was instantly cold, stopped all interactions with my partner, and did a complete 180 with his personality. My partner, 35M, completely supported him during this year and took time out of his very busy work and family life to spend time together, taking him camping and fishing to get him out and mind off things, and helped him get through some pretty dark times. Back to around 1.5 years ago, my partner dislocated his shoulder a few weeks earlier and we had to move. My partner asked him to help us because his shoulder was still not. He made it very clear he was busy. Okay, fine, but my partner has helped him and his mother every single time they moved, etc. Plus, father-in-law has a massive history of being super lazy and dirty. Even when he was being paid to be mother-in-law's carer, he would sit on the computer and not do anything for her, which was a massive reason she broke up with him. Tensions were already high. A few weeks later, his mother made a post about being mad that her support worker didn't show up because she needed to get some shopping done. My partner commented, "Where is stepfather-in-law? He's your partner and supposed to help you. Why can't he take you?" She said he was busy. Next thing, stepfather-in-law starts commenting, "How dare you? You guys just make up whatever you feel like and believe everything you dream up." Mother-in-law is also a schizophrenic and drug addict. This is important because she disassociates, makes up very elaborate stories, and lies. And father-in-law would back her up, even with very obvious evidence to the contrary. And this has caused very big problems over the years. We, on the other hand, have no reason to lie or make up stories and don't. My partner replied, "No, I asked a question." "But what do you mean, you guys?" he replied. Funny question. You and me are constantly talking crap and disrespecting me with your comments. I found out later he was referring to my partner, saying directly to him that father-in-law suddenly never had time for him anymore. I had enough because it was nothing to do with me and spoke. WTF, have I done? Don't bring me into your crap. I say things to people directly. If I have an issue, I'm not a coward whining behind people's backs like you, he replied. You two are a couple, so you obviously think the same. My partner. I don't need permission to say things, and if I say something and she thinks I'm in the wrong, she will let me know and we talk about it. But we can both speak for ourselves. There was a bit more back and forth about how he didn't help in spite of my partner always helping them and being there, and him saying that we shouldn't keep score. True, but it's still behavior. Me, having had enough of his crap, told him he was no longer welcome in our house. FIL then blocked us both. Now to the issue. This stuff always gets swept under the rug and never spoken about again, except to about us to other family members. I have seen them every few months at family events, and mother-in-law visits our kids every month or so. I have not been to her house when he is there, but he attempted to attend my son's birthday last year, to which I said he wasn't welcome until he apologized for bringing me into things and calling me a liar. MIL came alone and started telling me that he's been meaning to apologize for bringing me into it, but didn't call me a liar. I said yes, he did, and showed the screenshots. She then said, oh, he just hasn't seen you yet. He had at about 5 family events, and how hard is it to unblock someone and say sorry? He has seen me at about 6 to 7 other events since, and acts like nothing has happened. Talking to me normally acting all friendly. I have been civil but not overly friendly. Grey rocking it. I am tired of this pattern of ignoring issues and not changing or making any effort to resolve deep issues, and straight up disrespect, thinking he can just walk into my house when I told him he's not welcome. Mother-in-law mentioned that they would come here after their Christmas dinner with his family, so AITA, if I hold on to my grudge and tell stepfather-in-law, via mother-in-law because he still has us blocked, that he still isn't welcome in my house over Christmas? OP is not the AH. She set a boundary after being disrespected by her stepfather-in-law, and he hasn't made any effort to apologize or resolve the issue. Holding the grudge is justified, as he continues to act like nothing happened. As for scores, I would rate OP's stepfather-in-law 3.5 out of 5 on the AH scale, and OP gets a 0. Let's now move on to the next story from Apple Banana. AITA for wanting better communication from my brother and sister-in-law. I, 35F, am my mum's 67F carer, officially, and I live with her and my dad, 76M, both are pensioners and have illnesses-disabilities. Currently, my mum has breast cancer, but she's finished chemo, and it's looking good. Now the main event. At the start of December, my sister-in-law, 47F, asked if I could look after my niece, 6F, and nephew, 9M, for a few hours on the 23rd of December while she's sleeping. She works nights, and my brother, 46M, would be at work. She said I could look after them at their house or at ours. I said that shouldn't be a problem, and we'll see where I look after them depending on how my mum is, if the kids are sick at all. She said fine, we can talk about it closer to time for the finer details. Fast forward to this week. My mum, who has nothing to do with this arrangement because why would she? She can't look after them. Gets a message from my brother saying should he drop the kids at ours on the way to his work. I'm confused because I thought I had a choice, but okay. Mum messages him back and mentions that, and my brother replies saying that yes, my SEL will be sleeping, but when she wakes up, she has things she has to do before Christmas that she can't do while the kids are at home. So now I'm irritated. I haven't been asked if it's okay to have them for longer, and this isn't the first time they've pulled something like this, where they change things at the last minute. In my eyes, if you've asked someone for a favor, and then you need more from them, you should ask for the extra stuff you now need help with. This change would mean that they come to me at 9:30 a.m., and she normally sleeps till 1 to 1:30 p.m., so I don't know what she has to do, and for how long. But it seems like it's going to be a long day, so I will have to make sure I've got dinner to feed them, and rearrange things that I was planning on doing in the afternoon once she had got up and I was at home. Anyway, he has no other details for me, just that she's got stuff to do. So, I take the phone and let him know he's now talking to me. I tell him that I'm not happy, because they do this all the time, and this shouldn't have been sprung on me. I should have been told. I really should have said asked to him, but unfortunately, I didn't. And that he should be messaging me, not mum, because I'm the one that's looking after the kids. Side note, he goes to mum because he can guilt her into doing things for him. It's the reason we all got COVID one year, and mum and dad ended up in hospital with dad almost not making it. But that's another story. Anyway, he replied back saying that as it's always a problem for me, they won't be doing Christmas, and he's fed up with it always being a problem, and they won't ask again, and they'll see us whenever. Another backstory to mention for some extra info. The thing he's talking about with it always being a problem is the one previous time I refused to help them. This was half-term this year, a week off for the kids. I'd said I would help, and we'd have the kids at ours overnight on Monday, Tuesday, and they go home Wednesday. Well, my sister-in-law said that she wanted to do overtime, and could we have the kids for the whole week instead? I said, rightfully so, no, that's too much time. She ignored my mum for weeks, literally giving the cold shoulder, as I hadn't said it was me messaging her, because again, they don't message the person they actually need help from. I was going to tell my SIL it was me, but mum said not to. Also, She's been doing this every year, so maybe it's my fault in a way, because I mentally didn't have the capacity to say no before. Last year, the kids were at ours for overnight stays a total of 109 times. 3 weeks at a time, 3 times that year, plus some extra 1-week stays here and there. They didn't pay us or give us food for the kids during most of these times until I said we don't have enough money to feed your kids as well as us. We are a household of 2 pensioners and a career after all. Then they helped for the last 3-week stay. My mental health really suffered that year because it was extremely stressful for me to be looking after 2 children, as well as doing my normal care for my parents. This is why I say no or question them now when I don't like how something is handled, because I don't ever want to get that depressed again. I had a breakdown and basically said I'd rather not exist than live this way. They don't know about that, because the one time I said I was depressed, they said, and I quote, "What have you got to be depressed about? You don't even work." Back to the main part. Sorry for all the extra stuff, I just feel it needs it all. So, after he said that he was canceling Christmas, I gave him the same energy back. I said that if he wants to behave this way, then fine, it's not always a problem, and I'm not here to be his slave. All I said was, I'm not happy that they always change the plans. I called him selfish and ungrateful, which I sort of regret, because I'm normally better at keeping my cool. I finished it with saying about the number of things I've done for them, and then I have an issue one time, and they blow up like this. Now, I never said no in that entire conversation. I still would have helped. I just needed them to realize that they never message me about these things, and they don't communicate everything they need properly to me. So, AITA for wanting better communication? Should I just not have brought it up? OP is not the AH. She is setting reasonable boundaries after being overburdened, and it's valid to expect better communication and respect for her time. While the tone could have been calmer, OP frustration is understandable given the circumstances. As for OP's mom, she is an AH for her behavior, and for this, I would rate her 2.5 out of 5 on the AH scale, and OP gets a 0. Let's now jump on to the next story from KLB Shaw. My best friend didn't check in on me when I had a serious injury. AITA for cutting ties? I, 30F, recently got a concussion the other week at work. I was taken to the hospital and advised to be off work for 2 weeks, as well as a bunch of physios, etc. afterwards. All that to say, it is no joke to have a TBI, traumatic brain injury. My friend, 27F, who I have known for 7 to 8 years and consider one of my best and closest friends, didn't check in with me or my partner for 3 whole days following my injury, despite knowing about the incident, my hospitalization, and subsequent time off work. Some context. I have known this friend, Sally, for almost 8 years. We worked together, met at work in the city we both used to live in. For 2 years, we both worked together plus hung out, and became increasingly good friends, both with bigger groups of friends, 1-to-1, and as a couple with her, now ex-boyfriend, and my partner. When my partner and I moved out of the city during the pandemic, she visited me about a year and a half later in the new town I was living in with her new partner. We hadn't stayed closely in touch during the pandemic, but everyone's lives were crazy, so I didn't think twice about that. They stayed with us for a week, and her new partner Joe fit in well with my partner and I too. She was so happy about this. Shortly thereafter, they moved to the same town as well. Since we regularly spend time together, US 2 couples, or just Sally and I, for example, we go on a run or to the gym together weekly. We also have a larger group of our friends. Additionally, Sally's now boyfriend Joe has a job at the same place that I work. Him and I work together daily and have also become good friends. Similarly, Joe and my partner are good friends too, and will hang out just the 2 of them as they have mutual hobbies. The 4 of us also regularly do recreational activities together on the weekend too. Sally knows my parents, I know hers, and we've gone on some trips together. All that to say that I think of her and Joe as very close friends whom I could rely on if it hit the fan. Something about my friend Sally is that she does have a lot of other friends. She is one of those people that is quick to make friends, so she does have a large social circle. This is something I've always found fine-endearing about her. Despite our differences, I am more of a have a few close friends type of gal, because she has always made lots of time for us, either with us without our partners. Fast forward to today, it hit the fan in my life. I know that she knew about my incident without me telling her because her partner Joe works with me, so he was one of the first to find out. Sally didn't connect with me for over 3 days about my injury, despite my partner communicating to Joe my fairly concerning state. In contrast to this, my other close and less close friends have been reaching out regularly and asking if I need anything. Many whom I haven't known for as long don't spend as much time with. They've followed up and checked in. Joe came by after work one day to drop some of my things off, check in. Sally didn't join and still was yet to acknowledge this happened to me. Even my colleagues, bosses, and some of the people who I serve in my community-based job have reached out to me, dash my partner via text and email to send well wishes to me and offer to help me following this TBI. I know I'm not the center of the world, but I tried to give Sally the benefit of the doubt and wondered if for some bizarre reason Joe had not told Sally. Finally, 3 days later, Sally messaged me saying she heard about my concussion and hoped I was okay. I replied, answering her questions, and also asked her in a casual way if this was the first she was hearing about it. She answered, saying that Joe had told her the day it happened, but she hadn't had time to reach out because she was stressed and busy. I was shocked, but still, I asked her how she was doing personally and followed up about a weekend plan I knew she was looking forward to, keeping in mind I had a brain injury, so I was using voice notes to voice to text to communicate, and in a dark room with a splitting headache, unable to even make myself a meal. She answered about her plans. I said I hoped she had an awesome time and wished I could be there too. Then she ghosted. It's been another 3 days, and I haven't heard from her since. By comparison, my other friends and colleagues even have followed up. Now, I'm wondering if I've read into this friendship wrong for the past few years. Does she not value my friendship as much as I value hers? Is it because she has so many friends? My partner and I both don't think that there is any jealousy from Sally about my relationship with Joe, and my partner also thinks it's very strange that she is acting this way. She has been a bit flaky on plans and not communicating as well leading up to when I got my TBI, but I've continued to reach out and try to maintain the friendship. Am I working too hard for someone who doesn't care about me? She doesn't handle conflict well, avoidant, can be people-pleasing. So no, I have not brought any of this up to her. Also, I'm wondering if I'm overreacting due to the state that I'm in with my brain injury. I don't think I could mentally handle a conflict right now, but I'm thinking about this, our relationship, basically every day, feeling kind of heartbroken about this friendship. TLDR, I had something big-serious go on in my life. Land this a best friend is putting in zero effort to even send a text to check in on me. Am I overreacting? OP is not the AH for cutting ties with her friend. OP is understandably hurt by her friend's lack of concern, especially after a serious injury. While OP's state of mind due to the injury could amplify feelings, the friend's response is inconsiderate and neglectful. So, OP's friend is an AH, and I would rate her 3.5 out of 5 on the AH scale, and OP gets a 0. Let's now jump on to the next story from Mercurial-Hawk. AITA, for not wanting to hang out with my dad's new family. I'm 31, F, and my dad is 60. My parents were married for 35 years before my mom was diagnosed with cancer a year and a half ago. She died 2 months after the diagnosis. For me, it was one of the lowest moments in my life. My mom was one of the people I loved most. My parents never had a perfect marriage and had many differences throughout the years. My dad started to be present-absent when I started to work after college, leaving the house finances to me and my mom, which wasn't easy to manage. Mom also got in charge of house chores, so we were burned out for many years. In 2019, my grandpa, Mom's dad, came to live with us since my aunt, his sister, attacked him and tried to burn him alive. She was diagnosed later with Alzheimer's and could get pretty violent. We started to take care of her and eventually placed her in a nursing home. I took on 3 jobs to help my mom with finances. I also learned to drive, and I was able to go and do many errands, like going to my aunt's, the nursing home, picking up my mom from work, etc. When my mom had cancer, I reunited money for her amongst family and friends, since my dad was too shy to ask, because what would people think if we begged for money? I took her to most of the appointments, chemo, doctor's office. I knew her medication. She fell down the stairs and had an accident. He wasn't home, and when the paramedics asked who would ride with her, guess who did? In her last moments, Dad did not want to go and see her because he was working and arrived at the hospital when she had passed. When my mom died, me and my boyfriend, 32M now husband, became the primary caretakers of my grandfather, since my dad had nothing to do with him and wouldn't help me out. That year, he was diagnosed with dementia. I couldn't sleep for months until the doctor found the medication that worked best for him. My dad started dating 3 months after my mother's passing, and I was deeply affected by that. He used to have access to my credit card since he wrecked his finances, but we agreed that if he paid it every month, there wouldn't be an issue. He spent all his salary taking women out, started drinking heavily, but I was the one who was going through it. I remember how at least 2 times I had to take my grandpa to the hospital at night alone, since my boyfriend left to his hometown for the holidays, while my dad was with a lady. I have to mention that my grandpa and my dad never had a sore relationship, but my dad told me he grew sore that he had to live with us for 4 years. I cut his access to my credit card, and shortly after, he got fired from work because they were cutting their budget. He spent his severance, which was a considerable amount of money, since he had worked 6 years there. He still dated different women and had a prospect which was a friend, but had on reserve if the one he wanted did not work out. Spoiler, it didn't. His then date did not want a serious relationship and had told him months ago, but my dad insisted that would change. He then, 2 weeks after that, went to visit the friend he had on reserve and started a new relationship. That was in June. It was the anniversary of my mother's passing. I remember him texting me on the bus to meet this woman how much he missed talking to my mom and showed me a screenshot of a WhatsApp conversation with her through DM. This lady lives about 300 miles from our city, on a much smaller one. Since my dad started this relationship, basically with zero money, me and my boyfriend had to be the providers of the house, he was planning to go and live with her until he would receive his retirement allowance, starting in 2025. He miraculously landed a new job after months of searching, and now he will have his retirement money plus a really good salary. After my mom's death, he was a jerk to me. My mom had some money saved in the bank for the retirement, and when I asked for half of it, I gathered most of the documents. He agreed in front of my boyfriend, and then wanted to keep it all for himself when the money was going to be deposited. A friend of his convinced him to give me half. It wasn't much money, and I would use it to fix our car and pay the expenses of my grandpa, which he never did. He spent his half on courting women on restaurants and bars that were way out of our social status. This year, a friend of mine went to Spain to get a master's degree. She offered to host us so we wouldn't pay a hotel, and my boyfriend found cheap tickets, so we had a fun trip on a budget. My dad stopped talking to me because he was infuriated that he had to take care of my grandpa while I was away. In 5 years, I had only gone on vacation once, in 2023. My dad started this relationship, and everything skyrocketed from there. He started spending half of the month away at the lady's house. My boyfriend and I decided to marry and move in together with my grandpa in September. Last month, my dad told me he is marrying this lady next April and wants me to spend time with her and her family. She has an only child, a daughter, just like my dad, and they think we could be the best friends ever. By the way, this lady has context at least of the date of my mother's passing, and even sent my dad a video of her cutting her hair in honor to my mom, which I found creepy. But my dad almost cried. My dad told me I'm being selfish to not accept his new life because I told him I respect his relationship, but I am not ready to take on a new family dynamic even though he is. I know his relationship with my mom was complicated and she was not perfect. He has the right to do whatever he wants, despite my opinion on his decisions. But I'm still grieving for one of my best friends, and I don't want to be at events and pretend everything is fine. I told him I could talk to his girlfriend, soon-to-be wife, about why I don't want a relationship right now, but he said no. It makes me sick how hard he is pushing for it, with the lady and the daughter sending me gifts. I used to love to hang out with my dad, but now I feel like I don't have one, that he changed me for the perfect, put-together, wealthy Christian family that my mother and I could never be. AITA for wanting to be left alone and not want to join his new family? P.S. I don't know how to talk to my dad anymore, since the lady moved into our city and is now living with him. He basically takes her everywhere. I just want for him to understand the way we grieve is different, and that I'm not selfish because of that, but it's a bit sickening on how he wants to join 2 families and forget about his past life. If you have any advice, it's also welcomed. OP is not the AH for not wanting to hang out with her dad's new family, especially because she is still grieving her mum, and is understandably uncomfortable with their father's quick move on and blending of families. It's okay to need time and space, especially given the emotional weight of recent events. What do the Mac Reddit fans think? Is the OP an AH or not? Let me know in the comment section below. If you like the stories I brought you, just hit the like button, share them as much as you can, and don't forget to subscribe to Mac Reddit for a daily dose. Bye bye, see you tomorrow with some more spicy fries.